So hi, thank
Hi.
you for interviewing me today. I really appreciate it. Can you start off by telling us what's your name
Sure. My name is Yvonne Chow.
and where you're from?
I'm from the Bay Area,
The
California.
Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice. And so you moved over to New York City, and tell me how you started your dancing career,
Yeah,
your
yeah,
hip hop.
yeah. Well, I guess the first start would be that I knew that if I wanted to be professional, I'd have to come to New York City. I didn't know about H Plus, the Hip Hop Dance Conservatory, where I'm the education director now. I didn't know about it when I came here, but I thought to myself, well, if there's going to be anywhere where you can really have a school, your place to study, it would be in New York City. So I came here and I came to the community class, which is what you came to, on a Friday in 2007. And I was like, yes, look, I finally found what I'm looking for, like real training. I kept coming back every Friday, and then by the summertime, I went into the summer intensive. And then that pretty much sold me. I said, okay, now I actually found a place where I can professionally train. And so then, I matriculated into the program, the full program, and I've been studying training for over 10 years now with Sophie Thomas, who's the founder.
Nice,
and
nice.
artistic director. Yeah.
So, what is the purpose of the Hip Hop Conservatory?
Yeah, so the Hip Hop Dance Conservatory, its main purpose, as any conservatory, is to conserve the art form through the education, right? So the students that are coming in, it's not like a dance studio where you can just come to class and you go out and you do what you need to do. Being in a conservatory means that when you come in, you are taking responsibility for the art form, for its preservation, for its evolution, and for its proliferation. So that means that you're learning when you're a student how to also be a teacher, because in order to conserve it, you have to know how to teach it to other people the right way,
Right, nice.
So in doing that, it is a higher education institution. People come, after they graduate from high school, basically because there's no colleges where you can get a degree in hip hop dance,
Right.
So this is a place for them to, strictly study the genre of hip hop dance and all the foundations that are in it. So we have popping, boogaloo, and locking from the West Coast, and rocking, breaking, and party dance from the East Coast. And they do an intensive study in that along with academics, so things like anatomy and physiology, health and lifestyle, critical thinking, cultural and social anthropology. I mean, essentially everything you need to know to be able to really know the art form, not just as a bunch of moves, right, that you know how to do, but as a culture and a cultural invention, because it comes from the Black and Latino cultural heritage of the United States, and you have to understand, well, what were they going through when it was created to be able to then express it now in 2018, so that's usually the missing link for a lot of people. They're just like, oh, it's a bunch of hot moves, and it's like, yeah, it's really hot, but like, where is it from, and like, why is it the way that it is? So that's what the conservatory is about.
Thank you for that. And what do you know to be like the most classic hip hop song to dance to?
Oh my gosh, classic hip hop song. Ooh, that's a hard one.
Or you can name a few that are like very popular that people use to start learning hip hop dance.
Well, okay, so here's the thing is that like when Boogaloo was coming up on the West Coast, rocking was coming up on the East Coast, So they were listening to a lot of the same rhythm and blues and soul music, but they were creating two totally different forms to it.
Right. Nice.
I think like one of the anthems for like rockers and like b-boys is like Apache by the Incredible Bongo Band. Every time anybody hears that song, they're gonna form an Apache line, which is how you rock, so you stand facing one another and you do your birds and jerks to one another. So that's one of those kind of like theme songs where once it comes on, everybody knows, okay, it's time, to rock. So
Nice,
yeah, I would say
nice.
that's one of them. Yeah.
And what do you think about the new dances in hip hop, like hip hop's evolution, modern day hip hop? What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, firstly, I think it's important to understand like what evolution is, because I think a lot of people, they use the word really lightly, but they don't really understand like what it means to evolve. So in order to evolve, you have to understand like the foundations of the art form to then be able to build it into relevance to today, right? Because a lot of these dances that are in hip hop were created in the 60s and the 70s. Now it's 2018. So I think that's what's really important to understand first and foremost, because some things are not necessarily an evolution, but more so what would be like a mutation, where it's like, oh, this is just like watered down, you know, where I didn't really learn the foundation. I'm just kind of copying whatever I see, and so it's sort of like a watered down version. However, I think a lot of the social dances of today are awesome, you know what I mean, and they represent this generation, you know, and I think that it's important that that keeps being created as time goes on, so that you have this really wide like language, you know, and lexicon of movement to pull from, and then you see how from different generations how people express themselves, you know. So yeah, I mean it's amazing all around. So yeah.
So can you explain the first hour of class, because I took the class yesterday.
Yes.
Can you explain the first hour where we do party dance, and what does that mean, and what is it for?
Yeah. So you took the Soul Science Community class. That is our only class that we offer to the public. It's every Friday. And a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times we start off with a party. And the reason for that is because hip-hop dance, like all these different elements, they were created in a party setting, you know, so it wasn't like people were like, oh, like, let's create hip-hop dance, Stephanie, and then like go to a dance studio and like, you know, make it up. It's like you're at a party, you know, you're feeling inspired by the music, and then you create something out of it, you know. And that's really important for people to acknowledge, because that organic and raw nature of it can't go away, because once that goes away, it's not really hip-hop anymore, you know. So that's why the first, you know, half an hour to an hour, we just give people space to express themselves and to get to understand their own personal groove and the way they want to move to the music. And that's important, because a lot of people think that in order to learn dance, you have to just have somebody teach you moves. But there's a way that you want to move already, and you gotta work on that.
Your own natural groove, right?
Exactly,
right.
yeah. And then you gotta figure out, well, how do I take what I learned in the form of hip hop dance, and then how do I bring my own personal like groove into it after? A lot of people get it switched, where they're like, oh, this is my personal groove, and like let me add some like foundation. It's like the foundation is the foundation, you know.
Yes.
You know, a 6-step is a 6-step. You know, a Fresno is a Fresno. A lock is a lock. It's always going to be a certain, you know, like form. But your flavor, like the swagger you add to it, that's what you create after you learn the form. You know, so.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite dance move?
Oh, that's a hard question. I would say that I don't have a favorite dance move. Yeah, and the reason for that is because this is my profession, so I can't really have a favorite. It's sort of like saying, like, what's your favorite song to dance to? Like, I can't have a favorite.
Right.
I have to know how to dance to anything and be able to move in any sort of way that the music is calling for me to move in, you know? Because otherwise, if I look at it that way, then I become a hobbyist, you know, where it's like, oh, I just kind of do it, like, casually. But, like, a doctor doesn't go, like, oh, I'm not going to operate on you because I don't like who you are. Like, I don't know your body. You know what I mean? Like, you would just do whatever is necessary, and that's the same for dance. It's like, well, like I have to be able to do anything to anything. So I don't necessarily have a favorite move.
Okay.
But yeah, sorry. I know that's
no, it's okay.
Yeah.
And what is the most inspiring thing that you witness out of teaching or, you know, being instructor of a hip hop class?
Whew, most inspiring thing.
Like, have you seen anybody transform or, you know, just be able to?
Yes. I think, okay, one of the biggest things about learning dance is that it's challenging. And it's not challenging just because of the physical nature of it. It's challenging because of the mentality. Because basically, when you're dancing, you're showing who you are, right? It's a very vulnerable kind of situation where you're just letting people see your emotions and how you express them. And that's why a lot of people shy away from dancing, because they don't really they're not in tune with that, and then they don't want to show that to anybody else, you know? So I think a lot of the challenges that dancers face is like, how do I get out of my own comfort zone and kind of just go for it, you know? Like, kind of like the party yesterday.
Yes.
How do I get out of my comfort zone? I think for me, one of the most beautiful parts about teaching dance is watching people get to understand themselves in the process, feel confident in their body and being able to move, and having those like breakthrough moments where they're like, oh my God, like I feel the music and I'm expressing the music. And you don't have to be a person that has 1,000 moves to be able to do that. You have to be open. That's the thing. You have to be open to the music, open to what's going on around you. And I've seen people who have maybe 3 moves just kill it because they're so present with everything that's going on in the moment, you know, and they're not telling the music what they want to happen. They're letting the music tell them, because the music is the master. You know, we just have to respond to the music.
Right.
You know, so I think that's always been one of the most inspiring things to watch, is when people get out of their own way and just go for it and just enjoy themselves, you know, because that's when you really enjoy. When you're so insecure and you're just doubting yourself and you're fearful, I mean, it's a hard experience, you know. And so that's one of the biggest things I talk to dancers about, is you got to get out of your own head, and you got to let go of those thoughts that are like, oh, you can't do this, or like another day, or like I don't want to do this, I look stupid, all those kind of judgments. Once they let go of that, it's like the real you comes out, you know, and that's really beautiful to see, I think. So, yeah.
Thank you. And so, last question: what does the hip hop culture mean to you?
Whew. A lot. It means a lot. I think first and foremost, what I would say is that it means a lot to be somebody that's been invited into the culture, because this isn't my culture, you know, like I'm not Black, I'm not Latino, I'm Asian, you know. And Safi, the founder and the artistic director, he really created a space and an environment that allows people to come in with no judgment, you know, not like, oh, you're a girl, you can't do this, you know, you're white, you can't do this, right? A lot of times there's like those kind of initial, like, who are you, why are you here, right? And he created a space for that, while also teaching us to be accountable for who we are in the culture, right? So like for me, like, I don't have a positionality of being of the culture. I'm a guest in it. I'm always going to be a guest. No matter how many years I'm in this, I'll always be a guest. And I think that means a lot, that hip hop, you know, the community has like embraced like me as, you know, a leader, a teacher, you know, somebody that can, you know, contribute like productively to the, you know, the whole culture, the whole diaspora. And, you know, it really means a lot, because I know that for a long time, hip hop has, you know, seen a lot of negativity, a lot of exploitation, a lot of cultural misappropriation from the dominant culture, from people that aren't of hip hop's culture. So it takes a lot to trust, and I can understand why. You know, when you, for all your life, when you only seen people that don't look like you taking from your culture and going, oh, I like this part and I like that part, but I don't need you. You know, like, oh, this is cool, but I don't want to talk to you. And it's like, but I come with I'm the one that, you know what I mean? Like, you can't take me out of this. This is my culture, you know? And, you know, that's happened in the industry, you know, commercial, I mean, in so many dance studios, I mean, anywhere, you know, when people don't understand their positionality, it's really easy to just go, here are the moves, learn the moves, you know? So something that Safi really taught me to do is say, okay, you have to understand your own culture in order to interact with somebody else's culture. So who are you? What does it mean to be Asian American, Chinese American? And so a lot of me studying hip hop dance was also me studying my own family, my own lineage, you know, and not pushing that away and trying to adopt hip hop as my identity, you know, because you can't do that, you know, like I can't make it my identity. A lot of people are like, I don't really understand my background, so let me just put on these baggy clothes and, you know, let me get on this do-rag and let me show you that I'm hip-hop. You know, it's not a performance. You know, there's no costume you can put on. It's from your heart, you know, and from your soul. That's what hip-hop, when you, like, understand the history and you represent that in every movement and breath that you take, that's really what it means, you know. It doesn't matter what you're wearing or, you know, what sneakers you have on, you know, although, you know, we like nice sneakers and stuff. But, you know, so, I think that's, sorry, I've like totally like gone, like you asked me a question. Like,
no, it's okay. That's great.
But I mean, yeah, I think that's, you know, hip hop culture means it's my entire life. Like everything that I do, every day that I live is for hip hop. You know, I work for the Conservatory 24/7, you know, and now it's not just a conservatory, it's an NGO too. So we are a non-governmental organization, which means we have influence at the United Nations. You know, we have a seat on the Economic and Social Council, so we can go there and educate people about hip hop dance, about arts, about how the challenges that dancers face, you know, and we can influence people from around the world to consider it and understand it in the real perspective, you know, and not maybe what they've just assumed or what somebody just like randomly told them about it, but real representation, you know. So I feel honored that I can be somebody that represents that, especially somebody that's not from the culture. And I feel honored to be in a time where I can meet all the people that have created what I'm experiencing. You know, you can't do that in ballet. You can't do that in a lot of other dance forms that are like over 100 years old. But hip hop, because of its age, you know, that it's, you know, around its 60s or so, like I can meet Bambaataa, the Godfather. I can meet, you know, Kool Herc. You know, I can meet Ken Swift. I can, you know, all of these people that I read about in books, and then I would see them in real life. Oh my God, you know, like you're a real person, you know. So, yeah, it's just like it means like everything to me. You know, it really is.
Right.
It's all the work and this is the life that I live. You know, it is my lifestyle, and it is what I do, and it's what I live and breathe, and I appreciate, you know, like what people have laid down for me to step in and continue that legacy, you know, because it's a really huge legacy to hold on your shoulders, and it's a really rich one because it says the stories and the experiences of Black and Latino youth in the United States, in the Bronx, in the Bay Area, in Los Angeles. I mean, this is history within movement, you know, like that's what's really beautiful. It's like you see how people felt during that time period, you know, and that was like post-civil rights era, you know. It was like right after a humongous amount of things happened in the United States that was just like, you know, life-changing, you know, like all these different laws coming into place, really, really important figures being assassinated. I mean, it was a very like crazy time, you know, and then hip-hop is born, you know, and it's like that shows you where people were at during that time. So I mean, it is such an important legacy and like invention that needs to be respected and needs to be understood, and it's really honestly very sad that most other countries respect it more than the own country that created it, you know, like the fact that like people in the United States, you know, do not respect, you know, hip-hop. So
that's true.
So I feel very honored to be a part of it, and I feel honored to take a very important role in it. And I just, you know, I just hope to keep giving as much as I can and leveling up so that I can keep giving more to people, you know.
That's great.
So,
That's great.
yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So I so appreciated that you took the time to interview with me, and what you said was really inspiring.
Thank you.
I hope you keep on inspiring people and keep on teaching them how to dance hip hop, and I'm going to continue to come to these classes because I need it in my life. So thank you so much. I'm going to end here.